Okay, well today what we're going to be doing is talking about Chapter 1-5, adding and subtracting real numbers. And today's objectives is to find sums and differences of real numbers. And we're still in the prepares for Ch.1-5.2. And the first vocabulary that we really need to know is absolute value. And what does absolute value mean? Well, the absolute value means that the distance a number is from zero. Distance is always positive, so when you have like the absolute value of -4, that really means that it equals 4, because -4 is 4 units away from 0. But also when you look at 4, the absolute value of 4 is 4 units away from 0. So that +4 inside these vertical lines that you see there is also going to be 4. So -4 and 4 inside absolute value signs is 4. Okay, so that's kind of confusing at first, but it's the distance. So if you kind of think about it, if Johnny throws the ball to the right 5 feet and Sally throws the ball to the left 5 feet, you know, how far they throw the ball? Well, they both threw the ball 5 feet. It was just one threw it left and one threw it right. That's all that really means. Okay. The second vocabulary is opposites. Okay, we've used this term earlier in this chapter, but opposite means numbers that are the same distance away from 0, but in the opposite direction. So -4 and 4, or the example down there, 8 and -8 are opposites. Okay, so it's really a positive and negative number that are the same. Okay, so our first key concept here is adding real numbers. So we're going to be doing a lot of adding. It seems like it should be pretty simple, but kind of confusing when we get into the signs. So the first one is adding real numbers with the same sign. Okay, so if we have two numbers with the same sign, you're going to add their absolute values. The sum will have the same sign as the addends. Okay, so the number. So for example, we'll put this down here, i.e. for example, we had 3 plus 4. Okay, what we're going to do is add their absolute values, which really, since it's going to be positive anyway, 3 and 4 are absolute values. So that makes 7. So we add those together and we get 7. But each of these had positive signs. They're both positive. If there's nothing there, no negative sign, then they are positive. So then the 7 gets the positive. So we just leave that as it is. Okay. The other end of this would be, well, what happens if we had -3 plus a -4? I'll put this in parentheses, make the separation. Okay, we do the same thing here. We're going to add their absolute value. So the absolute value, let's go red here. The absolute value of -3 is 3. The absolute value of -4 is going to be 4. So we're going to add their absolute values. So in this case, we're going to get 7, but they are negatives to start, so really it's a -7. So in a sense, it's like saying, hey, I spent $3 and then I spent $4. How much did I spend total? Well, I'm spending a total of $7. Spending meaning minus. Okay, so that's how you would get that one. Okay, that's where it becomes a little confusing with negative signs. Okay, the second one down here is adding real numbers with different signs. Okay, so this one becomes a little more tricky. If you add two numbers with different signs, subtract their absolute values. Okay, the sum will have the same sign as the largest number of the addends. Okay, so we're actually going to do a little bit of subtracting. Even though we're adding, we're going to do some subtracting. So we're going to use the same examples here. So say i.e. here. Look at the same examples. If I say -3, I'm going to add a 4. Okay. In this case, what we have is different signs, -3, +4. Okay, so when we add those together, what we're actually going to do is we're going to subtract. So it becomes really saying 4 minus 3. Okay, 4 minus 3. Just take the larger number minus the smaller number, and in that case you're going to get 1. But we go back to the original and we check what signs. Okay, the 3 was negative, the 4 was positive. The 4 is larger than 3. Okay, 4 is larger than 3, so therefore we put a plus sign, a positive sign with this 1, or just leave it 1. Okay, so that's the example that we would have there. The other end of this would be if we said, what happens if we had 3 plus a negative 4? Okay, 3 plus a negative 4. Well, same thing. We're going to subtract their absolute values. Okay, so the absolute value of 4, okay, again is just 4. The absolute value of 3 is just 3, but we're going to subtract. So 4 minus 3 is still 1, but go back here to the original. It was a 4 now that has that negative sign. 4 has that negative sign, so therefore it goes over here as a negative. Okay, and we do have to write that one. So there's our answer for that one. Okay, sometimes it's easier to use a number line to do this, so we're going to learn how to use a number line. So 3 plus 5 is what we're going to do. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to go up here and we're going to label our number lines the best that we can. It doesn't have to be center. We don't have to start center and say 0. Okay, we can say, okay, let's just start here at 3. Okay, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You know, just label them like this. Okay. Well, 3 was our first number, so that's where we're going to start. So we're going to plot a point at 3 on the number line. That's where we're starting. Now you can go from 0 and shift up to 3, but we're just going to start at 3. But we're going to add 5, which add 5 means we're going this way. We're going right. Okay, we're going right if we're going to add 5. And we're just going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means we should be able to finish here at 8. Okay, so making this jump over here to 8. Okay, and that's our shift. We added 5 there. So that means that 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. So pretty simple. Same thing over here. We're going to do the same thing. Again, we're going to put the number line what best fits what we need. So 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3. And we're just going to go through this way. So we're starting at 3 again. So I'm just going to start here at 3. But in this case, I'm subtracting 5. So it means I'm just moving left 5 units. So we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it would be at negative 2. That's where I would have moved. So I'm just thinking that's where I'm moving. So therefore what I know is that 3 plus the negative 5 is going to be equal to a negative 2. So using the number line, really visualizing helps work this out. Okay, I'm going to go same thing down here. We're going to put negative 3, negative 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just put those on there. Starting, again, we're starting at this first number, negative 3, right there. We're just going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're moving 5 units. 5 units. So again, 5 units to the right because it's adding a positive number. Okay, but we start in the negative, so we end up with a negative 3 plus 5 is equal to a positive 2. And then the last one is 2 negatives. Okay, since we're going to be going backwards, we're going to start over a little more. Okay, so this would be negative 3, Okay, just putting the numbers on here. It has look pretty. Starting at -3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units back. And there we are. 5 units because it's negative. So -3 plus a -5 is equal to a -8. So you can see how that number line helps. Now, the number line you don't have to use all the time, but it definitely helps out with working through those problems because it keeps everything in organized. And you just have to remember negative means going left backwards, positive means going right forwards. Okay, so in this next problem, problem number 2, what is each sum? Now we're going to take away from the number line. Don't want to use the number line if we can do some mental math here. We're going to work through this problem. So we have different signs. You'll notice different signs there. So we're going to put 12 minus 7. So we're putting absolute values. The absolute value, if you want to write those down, absolute value of a -12, oops, put a parenthesis there, should be absolute value, is 12. Absolute value of 7 is 7. So there's our absolute values. So we're going to subtract those. So then all we're going to do is 12 minus 7. You get 5. Okay, but in the original 12 had the negative sign, it's larger, so we have a -5. Okay, 18 or -18 plus a -2. Note that they're the same sign, so we're actually just going to add their absolute values. So really that's 18 plus 2, and that one's pretty simple. It's 20, and since the same signs, we use the negative. Okay, because both of them had a negative. Okay, the next one becomes a little more tricky because now we have a decimal, so we have to do some decimal work. Different signs again, so we're going to say 9.5 minus 4.8. Okay, we're really adding the -4.8, but again, absolute values. Okay, so when we add those together, we're going to get 4.7. Okay, and 9.5 is positive, so it's a positive 4.7. Okay, and then the next one, same thing, but we have to get it into like common denominators, I should say, common denominators here. So we have 6 and 4, so the common denominator would have been 12. Okay, so as we find common multiples here, it would be 12. So it's actually 9 twelfths plus a negative becomes 10 twelfths, and the different signs, so we're going to subtract. So it really becomes, I'll draw an arrow here, 10 twelfths minus 9 twelfths. Okay, that leaves us with 1/12, and we have the -5/6, which was the larger one, which became the -10 twelfths. So therefore, that gets the sign for the negative. Okay, so make sure that you keep in track what the negatives go with. Okay, it's always the larger number. 5/6 is larger than the 9/12. Okay, or -10 twelfths is larger than 9 twelfths, so we want to take that negative there. 9.5 here was positive, so therefore it was a larger number. We make this positive. These were both negative, so therefore it gets a negative. 12 was larger than 7, so negative goes with the 5. Okay, if you have any other questions, go to sitesgoogle.com, site SW MathIN. Get on the discussion board, post a question, or tweet something to me on Twitter. Have a great night.